Specifically, I'm not entirely sure what we're doing with console. I know that we did, but I'm confused as to what it is itself.
Okay, so it's just a way of looking at data. So sometimes, like, you'll have variables and you want to see what's going on behind the scenes. That's what console log does. Like, say I have X, right? I'm setting it to 5. But sometimes I'll want to know what that thing is. I want to know what does X do. So that's what console log does. It just gives you a way of seeing what's going on in your program without having to alert it or write it to the page. And as you start programming, it'll become more immediately apparent why this is important and why you'll need it. But it's just a way of seeing what's going on the inside of your program. So it gives you an output method that's not attached to writing anything to the web page or not attached to showing you like an alert box. It just shows you basically what's going on inside your program in a way that you can look at as a programmer quickly. And you'll need that because when you're building your programs, you'll need to see what's going on physically inside of them.
So when you say output method, you mean what the end result's supposed to be? Without having to jump through the entire hoop?
Yeah, exactly. So say you want to know, say you have a variable, right? And you're going to add 5 to it 5 times. Or you're going to multiply a number by 5 times.
Okay.
So you do that, right? And you want to know what it is each time. So that way you make sure that you're on track. So you're getting to the right number. So I could say I have X, right? X equals 5. And then I want to multiply it by 5. So I'll do X times 5. X equals X times 5. I know this example might be making it more confusing, but I'm just trying to show you like a time when you would need to see actually what's going on in your program. So we'll do X equals X times 5. So now X is 25. It tells us that, but if we're using JavaScript that's in a document like this instead of inside of our console, then we won't have that output. So this is just giving us the output every time. Now I can use console log to see that it's actually 25. So now I can console log X. Now I know that it's 25. I multiply it by 5 again. Now it's 125. I can use console log to see that it's actually 125. So that way I make sure that there's no errors in my program. It's running the way I want it to. Everything is going on track. And
because if it wasn't working, then it would have told you something else.
Yeah, if it right. So then so now this way I know that it's working the way that I want it to. And as you start working with this stuff more and building programs, you'll see why it's so important for it to give you a way to see what's going on.
Okay, that makes more sense to me now.
Yeah, I know it's kind of hard to wrap your head around all this stuff, but keep going with it. You'll get it. Did you have any programming experience or no? I don't remember. Not really?
No. Closest I had was adding an SSD.
Yeah, that's not programming.
I know.
Yeah. So some of this stuff will seem strange to you, but keep going as you try to solve some of the exercises and stuff. You should get it. This is kind of a strange concept because I know it's strange. Like, why would I need to know? Why would I need something printed out or output when it's already right there? But the output won't always be there. There'll be times you need to know the output, and so that's what console log does.
Because if you look into the code, it won't generate 125 or anything.
You won't see it. Yeah. So for this one, I was using the alerts to tell you, like, what's your pet's name. You type in your pet's name, and then you type in what's the age, and then it gives you back output. So one way of doing that is with the alert box that pops up. But those boxes are kind of annoying, and they're very unprofessional. Console log is more professional because it doesn't get in the way of your web page and how it actually works.
This doesn't work in any way, shape, or form to check CSS files, does it?
No. So if you want to check your CSS, the best way to do that is with the elements. Yeah, you can use the elements inspector. You can use network tab to see if there's files missing.
Okay, I was just checking because out of curiosity.
No. So console is just for JavaScript.
Okay. Next, you have 2 other questions.
Sure.
with Bootstrap. I understand it's on the website. It's essentially look through the components for Bootstrap 3.
Yeah.
And copy the code and implement what you need.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I was doing that. With the screenshots I sent you, I managed to create that much of the page already.
Okay.
It just seemed a little unorthodox, for lack of a better word.
Let me see what
being able to utilize it.
Actually, prideful and not it's kind of like admitting it's kind of like voice sauce. It's not sauce, but it's like it has a weird texture.
There's only arrows and vegetables.
Yeah, I was having trouble actually. Sorry about that. Heel back, whatever you call it.
Yes, so you can do that, but also aside how I think I can say that completely free and I can basically on Friday.
That one's
Get back to
Well,
and
so right now we're
I'm trying that. I have to
I can't go to the hearing. I have to go back to the however, wait a second. You can play with it there, so you can do also a lot of higher, and it'll. Oh, I already tutored Sophia. I forgot to adjust. I forgot to adjust my last person at 3:30. I tutored her on Monday. Okay, cool. So let's see if I can decorate one of those girls. Sometimes. Make a lot of last week I made I'm not before we do the instructions today, but we're going to show you actually well they check my schedule. As long as you understand how to concept because kids get out of school.
Oh, next Thursday.
I have one for next year.
So it was actually we're going over the same thing. That's what I said.
Okay, so you probably just have something.
Well, I'm gonna do that right now. I don't know, but
yeah.
Yeah, you should be. I don't know. You should see if I'm graded, you can see your grade, and then grade, or you just go down here, whatever.
Once I finish with hopefully this much I can do is fine.
Once I finish with my session that ends at 12, I'm free.
What would that be?
Oh, well, yeah.
What do you do? 680.
You know what, here's what I can do.
Oh, it's already created. And if you click on that, you should be able to see.
Portfolio. I had trouble skating because that's more of a trial.
Well, tomorrow night.
Yeah, so that is, yes, but,
I know what I signed up for.
Thursday I'm driving. The first time I got into the ocean, since like
oh, well, no, we're not doing it. We're doing it every Tuesday. We're not assigning it Saturday and the 16th. We're gonna assign it today and we're gonna go back to this next week. We still have to
around
That's
each.
Yeah.
That's where I'm here. This is my trust.
I think this whole thing.
I think it worked.
Yeah, so that's where we're giving you.
I'm just using
So, the nav bar, the only way I figured out how to change it to look like that
I will be dark at
was.
noon tomorrow and I'll know by 10. Just start to make you.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But it does not mean where there's a way to change. Assuming that he does.
Oh, right. So what we can do, so in order.
It works.
I have a break
Because you don't want to use
and that.
Default stuff, you're talking about the step default.
Right.
That's where you want to use.
I just
Latest implementation. Due before him is.
So where, this is making it fun. We're using Bootstrap to use your app. Yeah, we're not making it, we're not trying to get.
You know how long? I'm pretty sure.
I was trying to get it to look exactly like the The only way I could do it was overriding some stuff on the video.
You can use like.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Oh. No, if you can listen to I'm looking for a stop. If I see a page on full screen and then I turn down.
Well, I already did that. I put the main container. Like that. This is for me to screen. I never really write anything.
Yeah, see, that's
Yeah, I really didn't write anything for small screen because I'm just gonna start messing around.
But download it.
That's what they did for me. Yeah, I mean,
It's just playing around with it, changing patterns of this one instead of this one. Every time I have a rule, it doesn't
you can see where you're at. So, if you see the hierarchy, take it down and go, and call the changes. And then you want to try to avoid like so.
Oh yeah, what rows I have?
And then you want to scale to all
That's exactly what it is. Container, row size 12.
I have before I was wearing contacts, I I lost the contact.
Here's my width for industry.
They have one was that fit the clear path
this is
instead of like.
I mean, there's no space in here.
I was just trying to set up the positional we can make well. Yeah. You know, as long as I see maybe like when you get smaller, like I think most of them I can see blocks, but I don't have it. So it's not even like just here. So that's for my students to be my eyes are open without my brain. So like the biggest thing for just teaching students
So I just took the pictures for the media
if someone, if I see someone that's the biggest thing, be ready to have them okay. Otherwise they're yes, you're just give them more use. Yeah, because I figured if we get very and then I can change up. So that's, I was about 150 feet down in that picture. I always must say. So recreation. If you need to come straight to the surface, you can do that without stopping.
Okay, guys. How was your break, everyone? Good? Good break? 1 to 5? Like a 4 or 3 on the break? Okay, it was a 5. Awesome. I like the enthusiasm. So now we're back. We're right back into it. We are going to be talking about something we just covered before the break, mainly alerts, confirms, and prompts. We just now covered these, so it should be reviewed for everyone, even the people who are new to JavaScript. So you guys may remember this from the last exercise we did. If I want to confirm something, I can use a confirm. So I'll name a variable. This variable will be a Boolean, right? So I'll call it my bool. And I'll say confirm, and I'll just ask, is it true? Question mark. Now, when I do this, what's going to happen? A box is going to pop up, right? And it's going to ask me what? Is it true? And is it true? Well, I'm going to say it is. So now my variable, my Boolean called my bool, what is this going to equal? Is it going to equal true or false? True. Okay, everyone stand up if you think it's going to be true. I'm going to make you guys get up out of your seats, get the blood flowing for this one, and you need it. You need your blood flowing for this. So I'm going to type my bool. And it's true. Look at that. So all of you guys who stood up were right. Give yourself snaps. Awesome. So now what if I want more than true or false confirmation? What if I want to actually ask a question? Does anyone remember what we used there? Prompt. So I'm going to make a new variable. Var, by the way, in case anyone missed this var is the keyword to make a variable. So anytime I want to make a variable, I'll use this var keyword. There are a few new ways to do it, new with JavaScript version 6, which came out a few years ago. One of them is const for constant. So I can also make a constant called myConst, or call it whatever I want to. It doesn't work in every version of Chrome, though. So anyway, we'll make a variable. Yes, you're allowed to not define it. That's a great question. You are allowed to not define it. Can anyone guess what it ends up being if I don't define it? Undefined, which is one of the, the 5 primitive data types. Awesome. You guys are on top of it. So I'm going to make this variable, my var, equal a prompt. Right? Everyone with me so far? My var, or let's call it my string, since it's going to be a string. It's going to equal a prompt. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. So my string, and it's going to equal a prompt. So I just type out prompt. What do we want to prompt ourselves? Or what do we want to ask ourselves? Somebody give me a question, a silly question. Anyone? What? What color is the sky? What color is the sky? Okay. Okay, and now it's going to ask me. So I'm going to put, what, blue? Should I be honest with it? Okay, so now my string equals what? Blue. Stand up if you think it's going to be blue. Need your blood flowing through this. So my string, I named it my string, and it's blue. Look at that. So is everyone pretty comfortable then with these 3 constructs? Confirm, prompt, alert. What does alert do? It just pops up a box, right? And alerts us to something. So that's a good question. The question was, is there a way to change the buttons, the look and feel of an alert box? The short answer is no. Alert is just very basic. If you want things that look more advanced with more styled buttons, you'll be using jQuery for that. You'll be using React for that. You'll be using some more kind of advanced JavaScript logic for that. Alert is just a very basic one, which is why we usually use console log instead of alert, because that way it just logs it to the console where it's kind of out of the way and doesn't look ugly. So now you guys are going to get another exercise where you will get to play with confirm, alert, all of these things more. The way we learn this stuff is through repetition. If you miss something on the first exercise, you'll get a chance to practice it again now. We're going to take 10 minutes for this. TAs will be slacking it out now.
Can you predefine the type of variable, like X int, set it as that, or it's just based on?
Yes, you can, and there are certain cases where you want to do that. JavaScript is sort of designed to be like idiot-proof, though, where you don't really have to do that. Other languages rely very heavily on that. JavaScript is made so you don't have to think about that kind of stuff as much. So does everyone see the instructions here? You're going to write some code, confirm the user, do you like blank? Then using a prompt, you're going to ask the user, what kind of blank do you like? And then you'll store their response in a variable, then alert them to both those things. Make sense to everyone? Awesome.
Ask them what kind of blog do they like. Don't like blog.
That you can use your judgment for that. If you want to try to implement some more advanced logic there, feel free, but just make sure you get the basic part of the exercise. And what just happened is a very common thing in programming. You saw an alternate use case, right? So this exercise describes one use case. We're basically assuming they're going to like blah, and then which we want to find out which type of blah. So you guys will run into this stuff as programmers all the time, where there's a second use case that we hadn't even counted on. There's the use case where they might not even like the blank at all. So then we have to figure out, what do we do when that happens? So you guys don't have to worry about that for now, but Sam just kind of hit on that. So if you want, we have like 5 minutes left, but for extra credit, you could try to resolve that. And it may be quicker for all of you if you just try practicing all of these in the console in your browser in developer tools instead of making an HTML file and opening it as I showed you. But you could use either one. You could use the HTML file we sent out to you guys for the first exercise as a template, or you could just try practicing in the console.
Oh, so you know it's
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's in context. Sorry, big puppy. Sorry. I'll give my next together. There we go.
so if you do little letters, are you going to get a little font? But we want to say those. So how do we do
So we can go through the variable. Refer back to the variable. So that's the general syntax. Right, so we say variable, so we're declaring, we give them the, and then we assign the skin, we give it a value. In this case, we're going to use the value of whatever the result of that is. So, manually putting something, we're just going to now we're saying the answer is what we call this is going to be a
How's everyone doing with that? 1 to 5. About a 5. You guys want what, another 2 minutes to play with that? Raise your hands if you want 2 more minutes. Okay.
So right. So now we go here. We refer back to that variable, right? Because we're storing in the variable, so we can refer back to that variable. Now let's say, yeah, it's going to be it's one.
The love of my life. Wow. Actually, as a first to that, we're going to say that. Right? Say hallelujah. This was great. That's what.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
Oh my God.
So we got the next one's going to be a prompt. This is something that they're going to be able to type in. So we're going to follow very similar. So start again. So we made it.
Okay.
We'll create a new variable. Didn't say that. And then I keep that variable. Something that you
Taco shells.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now we're going to equal to. So we're going to write, instead of confirm, we're just going to write.
Now, how would I do?
Yeah. So you can say that. So let's see how that's going to look.
Yeah. I just didn't know what happened.
Type in whatever you write, and we're going to see how that looks like. So hold on. Okay, and refer back to that last word.
I gotta remember that.
And then if you want to refer back to
Oh no, because I answered it.
Okay. So the last thing we want to show you. Remember No. So it's going to be the same thing. It should.
I guess it demonstrates. You're correct.
Okay, so we want to display our results. So we all what would you put out there? And then whatever.
You have to do it the other way around.
Okay, guys, let's bring this to a close, and we'll get a chance to review everything together as a group. Yeah. So how'd that go, Jackie? It sounded like you had an aha moment there.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I love JavaScript.
Awesome. So what happened? Why don't you share with your teammates what just kind of clicked for you?
It's very x plus y equals. There's the variables.
Yeah.
It's very formula based. Yeah. There's no. Yeah.
Right. So that controller in you kind of goes like, yes, I can make it do exactly what I want to. Right, with different ways to do things. Yeah, and I agree with that. That's the way I feel about JavaScript too. It will do exactly what I want it to do 100% of the time. I just give it clear instructions and it does them. It does exactly what I tell it to. I only wish more things in life could be like JavaScript, where it does what I tell it to very easily. It isn't hard to understand. Why can't CSS? Well, yeah, things like Bootstrap, that makes it more like that, right? So we're going to get into talking about less and Sass. We haven't even gotten into talking about those at all. That's like another tool that you have in your tool belt to give you more control over the CSS and stuff. But CSS is more kind of like a Wild West. It doesn't like to be controlled as much as JavaScript does. There's more there's more variability. There's more room for randomness and chaos to get in with our CSS.
CSS though is that we can all do it differently and get to the same result. And I think that personally for me, that's just been my frustration with CSS is if you look at my style sheet versus somebody else's.
Yeah. TAs, can we bring that to a close? While we're talking, we want everybody focused up here. Yeah, so sorry, what were you saying?
No, it's just saying that with CSS, you can do it all many different ways, which is great, but we could all get to the same result. But with JavaScript, it's very fundamental.
Yes, that's true. And with these introductory exercises we're doing, that's pretty much true. There's really only one way to get to this answer with the confirm boxes and the alerts and stuff. As we get into solving more complicated problems with JavaScript, however, you'll see there are lots and lots of different ways to get to the same result. Just to show you guys, these are some of the different ways of calculating Fibonacci in JavaScript. And you would think there would be one clear winner, but there is not. There are like 10 different ways. You can use a functional way. Fibonacci JS. Let me see. So a problem like Fibonacci, which you would think would have one clear way of solving, you can see there are like 5 or so different results that different people have posted. Some are a little bit longer, some are a little bit shorter. Some use different types of programming methodologies. So there is no clear winner here, going back to sort of what you were saying, Jackie. There's lots of different ways to kind of tackle the same problem. So you'll see that this in JavaScript is much the same as it is in CSS, but that's kind of what makes this a creative endeavor, right? There are different ways to tackle the same problem, so you can always find a better one. Or at least yours will become somewhat interesting and fun to look at. So besides Jackie, did anyone else have kind of an aha moment there? Did anyone else find themselves coding, start to feel like a coder? Just Jackie. Okay, so we're getting there. One by one, we're going to get there, slowly but surely. So were you guys able to do that? Like 1 to a 5, everyone at like a 4 or about a 3? Where are you at, Fabian? At like a 2. Okay, cool. Well, you'll get there. What did you struggle with? What was hard for you? Okay, so we're going to get to talk about the if-else statements. For this exercise, we were just doing like the confirm. So we just wanted to solve these 2 things that I had up on the slides, right? We're going to confirm, do you like blank, and store their response as a variable. And then we're going to prompt them, what kind do you like? So let's just go over this as a class so we're totally clear on this. Okay. Just going to wait for this to load here. So how do I write, if I want to confirm something and save it as a variable, what do I write here in JavaScript, in my JavaScript console? Everyone? Var x, or whatever I want to call it. It could be called anything I want it to, right? We'll call it x. So var x equals what? Confirm. Then confirm is a function, and I pass in what? A string, right? So if I wanted to, could I make this string a variable and then pass in this string just to get a little bit fancy? So what if I wanted to do that? What if I wanted to make a variable called confirm message, right? And then what are we confirming? Somebody give me some text.
You like beef tacos.
If you like, yeah, but we don't phrase the question like that. We say, do you like beef tacos? Silly. Do you like beef tacos? Question mark. Semicolon. Now, a quick word on semicolons. In JavaScript, all phrases end with a semicolon, basically. Some languages will break if you are missing the semicolon. JavaScript does not break. JavaScript is designed to be somewhat bulletproof, to be it's kind of like the Fisher-Price toy of programming languages. You know, those Fisher-Price toys you had when you were kids that were just like plastic and indestructible, and no matter what you did to it, it wouldn't break. That's kind of what JavaScript is intended to be like. It's intended to be kind of unbreakable and 2-year-old proof. So you can put the semicolon if you want to. It's the correct way to do it, but you don't really have to. It won't really break anything in most cases. So now we have our confirm message. So now we do what? We declare another variable, right? And that's going to hold what? That's going to be response. We can call it response. And what type of data are we storing in here? It's a yes or no, which is called a Boolean. Right. So response. And in order to do that, I'm going to type what here? Everyone. Confirm. And then what am I passing into confirm? This variable I just created, right? Everyone with me here so far? Okay. So now it's going to ask, oh, wow, it's doing something funny. So sometimes this will happen. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I typed something wrong. Yeah. Okay. So do you like beef tacos? Well, of course I do. What kind of question is that? So now when I console log, if I want to see the value of my response, I can console log it, right? And so what's it going to say when I do this? No, it's going to be true.
Why does it show undefined?
Undefined every time? Because response is undefined, I think. Yeah, that's a more complicated question. So we'll get into that after. So like if I define a variable, x, and say it equals 1, then it should say 1. So now it's saying undefined after every time, but x still equals 1. That's just something to do with the console and the way it's outputting stuff. That's kind of a more complicated question. I don't want to get into that now. But the value of the variables you can always see by typing the variables or by typing out console.log and then the name of the variable. So we're all clear then on how confirm works, right? There was nobody who tried the exercise and didn't get confirm worked, who didn't just see the way we did it here. So we're all clear? Fabian, are you kind of clear on how that works? Okay, cool. So then what was the other one that we learned here besides confirm? We also learned prompt. So prompt is different than confirm because we're asking for text input, right? Not just a Boolean input. So if I want to prompt and get some text input, what do I type? If I want to declare a variable, Mappy, var, then what? My variable, we can just call it that. Then what? Equals.
I did it with prompt, yeah.
Oh, you did it with, okay, let's call it some boring.
Yeah, I didn't do this.
Oh, okay. So it's the same thing. So you have prompt and you have confirm. We just did confirm. Now we're going to do prompt. So prompt just takes a message. It'll ask you a question. Do you like fish tacos? And then it will ask you for text back. So I'll put yes, yes, I do. Right? And now my variable is going to equal what? Yes, yes, I do. And then if I alert my variable, what's going to happen? It's going to pop up in a message and say, yes, yes, I do. Okay, so now we've all had a chance to play around with how these things work on our own. We've had a chance to see how it works up here. We've had a chance to talk to our peers about how these things work. And the way we learn these things is repetition. So maybe it's not clicking for you guys yet. Maybe you're not having that aha moment the way Jackie was. But if you keep practicing it, you will get it. And it will start to make sense more and more. And then you'll start to solve your own problems with it. And that's when this stuff will really start clicking for all of you. That's when you'll really start to get it, when you start to be able to answer your own questions. So how is everyone feeling with this stuff? Like what, I mean, I get it. Some people are going to have it easy times, but you had a question?
No, I was getting ready to put the number 5 up.
Oh, okay, okay. We'll get there. We'll get there. So, yeah, so I get it, like, this stuff is hard, right? If it were easy, these wouldn't be high-paying jobs. This wouldn't be an in-demand field. This is a very technical, very challenging field that you guys are going into, and you're doing a great job so far wrapping your heads around it. And if it's not clicking yet, it will. Just keep applying yourselves, keep reviewing this stuff, keep doing the homework. You will get it. We're now going to move on to talking about if-else, which you may remember from our first dissection exercise as well, right? And we're just going to keep reviewing this. So for those of you who have done JavaScript before, this should be reviewed. So if I say I'm going to make a variable and it's going to be a number, and I'll call it my number, what do we want the number to be? 73. It's a nice number. Okay, so the number is 73. Now I'm going to say if my number is less than 75, then console.log too small. Or else over 75. So we see what happened here, right? This went into the first branch of the if-else statement. You basically have two branches here, right? If the number is less than 75, it's going to tell us it's too small. If the number is over 75, it's going to tell us that it's over 75. So the number is 73, so it goes into the first branch. It tells us it's too small. What's going to happen if I set my number to 85? Yeah, so then I run this same bit of code, and over 75 will appear. So this is a very important construct in programming languages of all kinds. You have what are called conditionals. So things will go one way or another in a program based on the value of a single variable or a set of variables. Can anyone think of a case in a program where you might have to use something like this, like an if statement?
Like if you want to log in like to age, because it has like wine store.
Yeah, like say you're going to check out your favorite wine online and you have to be over, what, 21, right, to look at wines online? So it'll ask you, are you over 21? And then if you are over 21, you can look at their website. If not, I don't know where it takes you, but it probably takes you somewhere else. It says, hey, you're not old enough to drink wine yet. Have some grape juice instead. Or I don't know what it says. But yes, that's a good example. Yeah, you, sir?
I was going to say something.
Okay. Okay. Can anyone think of a different use case where we would use if-else statements? Yes.
if you're looking for somebody to enter a response and they enter like the wrong kind of response, like if you're looking for a number but they enter a string, you can say like please enter.
Awesome. Great example. Great example. So what she said was basically form validation. That's what's called form validation. So we ask you on a form, please enter your birth date, your birth year. What if you put in, 4273 for your birth year? That isn't a real year. Or it hasn't happened yet, so that won't work. So in forms, basically every form that you'll look at on the web has some type of validation. It will say, hey, you forgot your first name, you forgot your last name, you didn't enter a valid date, you didn't enter a valid email address, right? So these are all important use cases where we use these if-else statements. We say, if no first name was entered, please show them an error message that says no first name. If no last name is entered, then we show an error message that says, hey, your last name is missing. Makes sense to everyone why you would need this. Can anyone else think of another example of when you would use something like this? Yeah.
When you're doing maybe entering your email, you put a wrong password.
Yeah, so anytime you go to log into a website like your email, it checks to see if your password matches your username, right? And then there are different use cases for this. If it matches, it takes you to your email. If it doesn't match, it'll tell you, hey, you entered a wrong password or username, try again. That's another good one. Anyone else? Can we get one more? Yes, sir.
When you're going to process payment, are you sure you want to process disorder?
Yeah, that could count. That wouldn't really be a conditional because it does the same thing every time. So it's not conditional on something being true, right? Okay, so that would be the conditional. But if you say no, then it does the else. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Do you have one? Oh, you're going to say the same thing. Okay. Yeah, we got a couple more. I'll take one more and then we can.
Maybe if you want to have your script do something different depending on the response that you get.
Right. Well, that's what we're talking about. All the different specific use cases where you want your script to do something different based on the response you get. Did you have one, Melvin?
A lousy answer, but if you're making an old school text-based games,
yeah, that's not a lousy answer at all. And you guys will be making some games in here that are a lot like that. So you have what? Like an RPG game, right? So you walk north, and if you choose to walk north, then what happens? You run into a monster, right? And then you get to choose to fight the monster. And if you fight the monster, then what happens? I don't know. Maybe you die and the game's over. Maybe not. I never did well with those games, the like text-based role-playing games. But yeah, that's exactly what we're going for here. These are all great examples of how you guys would use if statements in your code. So we are going to give you guys an example to play with using if statements on your own. We already covered this with the dissection exercise at the beginning of class. You will be Slack this out now. Does anyone have any questions, though, before we start on the syntax? Let me go over, actually, with you guys the syntax of if-else statements. And the operands, too. Yeah, we're going to go over all of that stuff. So this is your classic if-else statement. So the if basically needs to be true. So if you set this, what's in here, to be true, then this will always go to what? The first branch of the if statement, right? Because this is true. So it starts with the word if. That is what is called in JavaScript a keyword. It means that it does something. It's not a variable. It's not a name that you made up. It's an actual keyword. If. Then you have parentheses. And inside the parentheses goes some condition. If that condition is true, then it goes to the first branch of the if statement. If it's false, then it goes to the else. So you have ways of comparing things in JavaScript. So for instance, if I put 1 + 1 = 2, what does this do? Is that true? Okay, anyone know what would happen if I just put 1 equals sign, like 1 + 1 = 2? Do you guys think that would work, or is that going to not do anything? No, a bunch of people said no. No is the right answer. That will not do anything. This will work, the double equals or the triple equals. Anyone would like to take a guess as to what the difference is between the double and triple equals?
For example,
okay.
with false, you're putting just 2 equals.
Mm-hmm.
We're comparing false word with the false.
Right.
But if you put the 3, you're comparing actual value for the false. I mean, the one.
Okay, so that could work. Can we hear one more definition too? I think you get it, but I want to hear from a couple other people as well. Who else raised their hand?
Yeah, we just looked at it earlier, and it has to be equal in the same type of input, like
Right.
a number or
Right. So JavaScript has the concept of truthy and falsy. Remember how we talked about how a lot of JavaScript actually comes from this older language called Scheme, which comes from an even older language called Lisp. So one concept in Scheme that made its way into JavaScript was something called truthy and falsy. So things can be true and false, but they can also be sort of true or sort of false. Truthy and falsy. So for instance, an example of truthy would be, what if I did 1, the number 1 plus the string 1 equals 2? Well, is that true? Well, not strictly speaking, because it should be, that should equal 11, or like the string 1, 1, but not 2. But if I put this into my JavaScript console, you'll see that it is true with the double equal sign, because that means it's truthy. So this 1 plus 1 is false, because this gives me 11. But I could say like 1 double equals string 1, that will be true. But if I say 1 triple equal, number 1 triple equals string 1, that's going to be false. So this is truthy and falsy versus true and false. And we'll come back to this and cover this more. This is just sort of a little bit of appetite whetting.
plus string 1 equal be true with 11?
So will string, the question was, will string 1 plus number 1? So the opposite of what I just did?
Yeah. Would it work with 11?
So string 1, so this would be, so that, oh, would it work with 11? Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think it will. Yeah, and it's always fun to go and try this stuff out on your own just to see exactly what it does. But yeah, that's exactly right. It does that. But then with a triple equal sign, it will be false. So that's a basic introduction on how these conditional statements sort of work. Now, what if I want to put 2 conditional statements here? What if I want to assert that 1 plus 1 equals 2 all the time, and also that 2 plus 2 equals 4. And I can make it a little, well, we'll just do it like this. So will this do it? Do you guys think? Is that the right way to put an and? It is. So it's the double and sign says and. So that means this first condition is true and the second condition is true.
Is there a limit?
That is a good question. Google that. There may be some like upper limit. You won't hit that in practicality. In your programming, you won't hit that limit a lot. But it is always good to ask those kinds of questions. So what if I want to put an or instead of an and? Do we think I can do that? How do I do that?
Bar.
Anyone know? Bar, bar. Perfect. So this says if 1 plus 1 equals 2, or if 2 plus 2 equals 4. So if I do this, will this still be true? Yes, because at least 2 plus 2 equals 4. So that's true. Now, what if I wanted to do else if? So what if I wanted to check if 1 plus 2 equals 2, or if 2 plus 2 equals 4, then do something? Then I can say, okay, so that wasn't true, but maybe if 3 plus 3 equals 6, then you'll go and do this, right? So I can do that as well, and I can add as many branches on here as I want to. So that's pretty much all there is to if-else statements. It's a little tricky at first. This is one of the most basic constructs that you will learn as a programmer, and it's one of the most fundamental and one of the most widely used. If you program for 20 years, you will still be writing if statements, even as a high-level architect. There's no way to really get around them as a programmer. So I think, did we slack out the exercise? Okay, you guys will have 15 minutes. Okay. No, that's fine. So, I don't think there's a... So guys, it'll ask you to do something with document.write in the instructions. Just go ahead and Google it, or I can demo it for you real quick. Since you missed that, yeah, no problem. So document.write is just simply a way of writing something to the browser. We already looked at how to write things to the console, right? To do that, we do console.log, right? That writes something to our console. Everyone with me? No? Yes? Okay. So document write is a way of writing something to our browser window where the whole world can see it. So I'm going to write hello world. It's going to go up there. Now what document.write does is it replaces everything else in the document. Document is what is known in JavaScript as an object. So it gives you basically an API. Who knows what API stands for? Application Programming Interface. So in this class, we've looked at some different types of interfaces already. We've looked at graphical user interfaces like we have on our MacBooks and our Windows 10 laptops, our slick new Microsoft Surfaces, right? They all have graphical user interfaces. Then we've also looked at the command line user interface, right? Like with Git and stuff, you guys are using a command line user interface. Now, in addition to that, we're going to learn about a whole new type of interface. This is called an application programming interface. So in JavaScript, we have to interface with the browser through our software. So we'll have a way to do that through this API that is provided for us. So we have the document object. It gives us a number of what we call methods and properties. So we have like document.location. This gives me the URL, basically, and some other information of the page that I'm on. Some other things made available in the document object are the document object model. But for now, for this exercise, you guys will just be using document.write. But just know that when you're doing that, you're accessing this application programming interface that gives you an interface to the browser through your software that you're writing. Make sense, everyone?
Console.log, another API?
Yes, that is another API because that gives you an interface to the console. One gives you an interface to the actual document in the browser. The other one gives you an API to the console.
Are those APIs already included into the browser's JavaScript, or we have to use external libraries or something?
No, they are already included with the browser, so they come with the browser. So for document, console, window, there are a few others we'll get into talking about as well. Those are all things that basically just come with the browser. So I'll open up the completed exercise for all of you so you can see it.
Good night, guys.
Good night, Siobhan.
Thank you.
Yes, because this is how would you do the false? If it's not, because that's the only other option, then just do whatever you do. All right. Okay. So you know what? Because you're saying it's true. So that's right. Always going to be true is always true. So what you want is so it's going to be confirmed. So first you need to say the result will confirm the variation. Right. So question.
Yeah.
I'm using the moving the dark, and I'm asking if. I should just that part is right there.
No, you can put just that part. Yeah, that's a great question.
We don't
Yeah,
want to
we'll go over that also class. It's a great question.
because one of the signs are not assigned to each other.
So that's good though. That means you're thinking about yeah, you could put it beyond that. If my choice, yeah. And so where you can put equal equals true or double equals true. So I'll go over that with the whole class, but you're fine just for
I'm not really sure why, I don't know.
It's like it's string five is not equal.
Yeah.
So it is yes or yes.
Yeah.
You would know that.
Yeah, no, well, the second one would have to be equal equals true. So you have to prove this thing.
Now I see, you're right, because I only put true, I didn't put
Yeah.
blank equals.
So you're saying if state standards equals yes, or if state standards equals yes. And so you have to take that.
Okay, so.
So what does that solve the problem?
Well, the issue is when I sent it now.
Okay, so you got the.
Another type of.
Okay.
So you have to do
you're
almost
almost, you got the base. However, your setting. You're setting this variable. For message, you just using convert message. Do you take
Yes.
you want to ask, you want to store your response.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so so now you say, okay, your answers.
No, I would recommend doing it first. One thing that you can do though is you can two lowercase, so instead of doing it this way, you can just say first dot two lowercase. And then let's say something on the thing, and then you say
It'll change.
Okay, guys, we are going to take another 3 minutes with this exercise. 3 minutes.
For example, right now, you're saying assign your convert message to true. We don't want to assign it to No. You would have to choose. We're comparing it on the slide.
You would write one line at a time.
No, because document dot right. Like the races that really working on.
So is it showing up because it's stored somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. It stores it in the variable. You're down to your document dot right. It tells us everything that's in So where do we go for the class? Okay, class, we are going to bring that to a close. We have another exercise to do after this one. This will be a lot harder for you guys, so I want to just go over this as a class and see if we all got something that was basically like this. Let me make this bigger for you guys, sorry. Okay, can you guys see this now? Okay. So did you guys all have this basic first line? We want to confirm, do you eat steak? You're saving that as a variable. Then you just have a conditional here. If it eats steak, and somebody asked the question, do I have to put eat steak equals true? Like, can I put this? If I do this, will it be the same thing as this? Anyone know? Yeah, it's the exact same thing. So this is just a shortcut to this. Also, another thing that you'll see sometimes, if I want to know the opposite of that, if I want to know if this is false, I can put an exclamation point here. That'll just make it false instead of true. Or sometimes people do that, 2 exclamation points before a thing. That just means like if it's anything, like if it has some text in it, that's like yes, it will make it a true. And then if it's empty, it'll make it a false. So it's a way of converting a string or another type of variable into a Boolean, which is kind of getting ahead of ourselves. So did everyone get at least these first 3 lines, the if, the else, and the confirm? Okay, awesome. So then birth year, pretty much the same thing. Did anyone run into any weird problems with this, string versus number, anything like that? No, you guys didn't get this far? Okay, well, we'll get lots more opportunities to practice. We're going to be sending out these examples so you can review them again at home. Any other questions on if statements, confirms? Yeah.
Just to be clear, could we distinguish one more time the difference between document write, alert, and console log for the part right there, right before like here's the state.
So document. Sorry, say that again. Say that one more
We
time.
can distinguish the difference between the purposes of writing a document right
Versus console log and
versus
alert and some of the other ones. Yeah, sure. So I could talk about that. So document.write writes something to your actual page. So this is like, say I have a web page. I want to print something for all the users to see who use my website. I'm going to use document.write because they look at things that show up in the window of the web page. They don't look at the console because they're not developers. Alert boxes are just kind of ugly, so we don't use them a lot. They're a really basic way to show things in JavaScript, but you won't use them very much because they're kind of ugly and they get in the way of things. So document.write prints something to the window where everyone is going to see it. Console.log prints it in the developer console where only developers can see it. So that's basically the difference there. Yeah.
I was using window.confirm and window.prompt.
Yeah.
How is that different?
Okay, they do the exact same thing. That's a good question. Did everyone hear that? He decided to use window.confirm. So in addition to doing, So in addition to doing just confirm or prompt the way most of you did, you could use window.confirm or window.prompt. So JavaScript gives you an application programming interface to the window. Much the same way as the document. So you can do window.prompt. Really doing prompt is just a shortcut to doing window.prompt. So that's the only difference. This makes it better because everything inherits from an object. So this is like a cleaner kind of implementation of it, which is why they added that. In earlier versions of JavaScript, it was just prompt and confirm, and then they made it window.prompt and confirm. But the practical answer is they do exactly the same thing. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you guys want to look at the window object, you'll see that the window object gives you a lot of other methods and properties. You can look at your application catch. You can look at an array buffer. You can use the API on the window to do a whole lot of different things. You can do stuff with Bluetooth. You can do stuff with the canvas element. So these are all different properties of the window, and two of them happen to be the prompt and confirm that we were using. Any other questions? Anyone?
Go back
to this? To the code? To this? Yeah. So basically, we're just asking, hey, what year were you born? And if it's less than 95, then I guess that's past the drinking age. Is that right? No way. Yeah, I know people born. It's what? Wow, I'm old. Okay, so yeah, but this just checks the age. So if they put in, we would have to do probably a parse int or something. And if it's later than 95 or now it's 96, they can drink sake. Otherwise, we're going to tell them no sake for you. Right? So at least logically, you guys get what we're doing here, right? And you kind of get the constructs we're using, the different Lego blocks we're using to put this logic together. Okay, so now we are going to press on. We talked about the 5 primitive data types. Can anyone tell me what they are? One of them is Boolean. So I can have like a false. I don't know why I can never spell that right. I can have a false or I can have a true. If I do type of true, it's going to tell me that it's a Boolean. What's another one? Okay, so we have number and string. Let's do one and then the other. So type of 5 is going to tell me it's a number. If I do type of hello, it's going to tell me it's a string. There are 2 more. Does anyone remember what those are? Null and undefined. You guys are on top of it. I love it. Type of undefined is undefined, and type of null is null. So these are the 5 primitive. This one says object, but it really is null. So in addition to the 5 primitive data types, can anyone think what other types of data types we could have that aren't primitive? More advanced. So float is a kind of number, and that's considered a primitive. JavaScript doesn't make a distinction between float and int. Symbol would not be. Array is what I was looking for, actually. So in JavaScript, in addition to these primitive data types, you can also have lists of data types. Like say I wanted everyone's age, right? I won't actually make, I'll just make up your ages. Maybe somebody's 32, maybe somebody's 23. And I'm putting these as string and as number. Maybe somebody is 45. So I have all of these different ages, right? So this lets me use an array. An array is the next data type we're going to learn about. This is a higher order data type. It basically lets you put together lists of different values in one cohesive list. So to access something out of my array, first of all, I can set my array to a variable. So I'm going to type var my array equals, and then I'm just going to make it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I have my variable called my array. It'll do that. If I want to know the length, can anyone guess how I would do that? Dot length tells me how long the array is. It is 5. Now if I want to know what is the second item in this array, yes, it is array index 1 because computers start counting at 0. Computers start counting at 0. So if I want the first item of my array, I'm going to do my array and then put in square brackets. This is the notation to get a certain item from an array. This gets me the first item from my array. This gets me the second item from my array, third item, etc. Oh, well, no, that's actually the fourth item. Third item is this. Sorry. Okay, everyone with me so far? Any question, guys? Can we keep it down? So any questions on this? Let's say I want to make a new array, right? And I'm going to call it your array because it's really your class. So your array. So what do? Say I want to put all of our, I don't want to say all of our ages. Let's put all of our names in an array. How do I do this, guys? Yeah, so square brackets to put a new array, and then I'm just going to put in quotes. So why don't you all start saying your names, and I'm going to put all of our names in here. Madison. Ron. Okay, keep going. Madison, Ron, Elliot.
That's right. Okay,
that's right. Martha. Okay, Martha, who's next? Ari. Is that right?
Mario.
Oh, Mario. Why did I hear Ari? Yes, I'm going deaf. Okay, who's next? Fabian. All right, I'm going to take like 2 more of you. We don't really. All right, who's next? Pedro. Okay, 1 more. Lucas. Okay, so here are some of the things we could do with this array. Say we want to alphabetize this. Do you think we can do that? Yeah, so here's how. And you won't learn all of this right away, but I'm going to put your array dot sort. And this should be all that we have to do. Now it's nicely alphabetized for us. See that? Yeah.
Probably sort it another way, like maybe by number of characters.
Yes. Yeah, you could. So this gets a little bit more complicated. What we're going to do if we want to do that, we pass in what's called a function, which we'll get into later. This is just another way to sort of encapsulate logic. And then you have your A and your B. So you just put if A dot length. And I won't really explain how all of this stuff works in detail, but just to show you, to answer Jorge's question, yes, we could do this. And then we're just going to have it return that. See, and now it goes from lowest amount of characters to highest. I can just change this greater than to a less than, and then it will do the opposite. See that? Yes, Sam.
Does that sort function change the order of the original array, or does it return an array?
That's an awesome question. I love that. This is what's called a destructive function. So it changes the original array. So now if I ask it to, well, this is your array. So it should actually do it on this array, not on a copy of it. If I wanted to do it on a copy of it, I could just say var copy array equals your array dot sort, right? And then it would apply that action to a new copy of it. So now your array is still in the same order going down by length of characters. Oh, no, it actually changed both. It changed that and the copy too. So what if I wanted to access the third item from this array, Lucas? What do I type in order? Yeah, so it would be your array, then what? Right, square bracket, then what number? 2. Okay, and what if I want to know the length of my array? What do I type? Dot length. Yes.
Is it 8 and not 7 too? It's accounting for like the white space.
No, there are 8 names in here. So
it doesn't count from 0.
Not when it gives you the length. When it gives you the length of something, it starts counting at 1. When you're giving it an index, it starts counting at 0. That's kind of a tricky concept to wrap your head around at first. Did everyone get that? So if you ask it the length, it'll give you the actual length. If there are 8 things in the array, it will tell you how many. 8, right? If you want to get array index 1, you give it the number 0. Right. Does that make sense to everyone? Did anyone miss that? Madison, you good with that? You are? Okay. Okay.
Is it the length? Is it the name? All the name? The 8?
Sorry, say that again. The length of the name?
Because the array length is 8.
Yeah, so there are 8 people in this array.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like text.
Oh, okay. So you can do that too, though. If you want to know how many characters are in each person's name, you can do that too, and you do it just the same way. So I can just type out like Lucas dot length, because actually strings actually are arrays. So you can treat a string the exact same way you treat an array. So just like you get an index from an array, you can get an index from a string. So this will give me the first character, this will give me the 4th character, etc. Does everyone see how that's working? Okay, Sam.
Or chars is data type in JavaScript?
Are what?
Chars or chars?
Chars?
C-H-A-R.
No, that's Java.
Okay, just
Yeah, that's from Java, right? That you learned that? Yeah, no, Java has different data types, which are intended to basically save memory. Like you can have single characters in JavaScript where it will, or in Java where it will allocate only enough memory for one character. That isn't really useful in JavaScript. It just allocates like a chunk of memory for a string. It could be 255 characters. It could be thousands of characters. It could be 1 character. So it's just a different way of managing memory. Any other questions on arrays? It's a lot, right? It's a lot to wrap your heads around. So now we're going to get into talking about something a little bit higher level. I'm going to open up a new window. Clear this. So what if, I think we were talking about bands, right? If not last Saturday's class, the Saturday before that, we were talking about like some grunge bands, Sonic Youth, Nirvana, Mappy, AC/DC. Okay, so what are some, we're going to come up with an array of some bands that we like. So I'm going to say var bands we like. And I'm just going to make this a new empty array. Now, sometimes you'll want to add items to an array after you declare the array itself. So like I had my list of names, sometimes you'll want to add something afterwards. You can do that. So you can do that just using push. So bands we like, I'm going to do dot push. And I think somebody's definitely said Nirvana, so we'll add that one. And then what else? Led Zeppelin. The Eagles, really? Okay, we can put the Eagles. It's not just about me. I guess the Eagles. Okay, Eagles, fine. Okay, the Eagles, the Beatles, definitely. The Beatles. All right, I'm going to take like 2 more. Foo Fighters. I like them. Are they even like a rock band? Or okay, fine. Foo Fighters, Backstreet Boys. Okay. Okay, Backstreet Boys. Speaking of that, did anyone see the Super Bowl, the halftime show? What do we think of that? Yeah, the selfie thing. He had to get pictures of him taking selfies.
Oh my god.
Okay, so we have the Backstreet Boys. We have the Foo Fighters. So now, what if we say just high level? We'll do a little bit of role playing. Say, Lauren, I hired you, right? You're my new web developer, junior web developer. And I say, hi, Lauren, welcome to work. I'm going to give you a problem. I want to make a website for bands that I like so people can come to my website and they'll tell me what bands they like. And they'll either say, yeah, that band is awesome, or no, I never heard of that band. How would you do that? Do you think I can do that? Is that just totally crazy? Is that...
Wait, I'm sorry, say that again?
So say I want to have a website and people are going to come to this website and they're going to tell me a band that they like, and I'll either tell them that that's a band that I like too, or that it's not a band that I like. So I'm going to either say, yeah, that band rocks, or nah, they suck.
I guess you can use a conditional. You can say if band equals any of the values in the array, then
right.
No, thank you.
Right. So that was good. We all see what Lauren did, because a lot of the problems you guys get at work will be a lot like that. Somebody will come to you with a problem. They'll say, hey, I have this idea for this website, and can we do it? And your job is going to be a high level say, yeah, I think I can do that. There's probably a way to look inside an array and see if it's inside the array, even though, Lauren, you didn't really know how you're going to do that, right? Like how you're going to look inside the array and see if it's...
You can like sort through it.
Well, yeah, so you had an idea that you could make it work, right? But you didn't really know. And that's what I'm trying to get to. So a lot of time that will happen. So that's what we'll do. We'll have an if statement. We're going to figure out how to check to see if our band is in the array. And then we're going to give them a message based on that. So the first line of this is going to be the confirm, right? We're going to have a var called band name. And we're going to set this to a confirm. And we'll pass it in some text. What band do you like? Oh, yeah, it would be a prompt. Yes. Sorry, guys. I almost never use these things. I use like higher level controls. So, all right. So what band do you like? So it's going to prompt us for that. That's the first step. Then we're going to write an if, right? So we'll say if, and I'm just going to show you guys how to check and see if something's in an array. The trick to that is called index of. So it's going to be bands we like dot index of. And remember, everything in JavaScript is camel case. It is greater than 0. So I'm going to open up a new tab here so I can show you guys.
You have to pass index of the input?
Yes, yes you do.
Oh, you just haven't.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys how index of works first. So anytime in JavaScript, you do this on a string or an array, because remember, strings really are arrays. So say I have hello. and I want to see if it has the 2 letters LO in it, I can put index of LO. And because LO is in here, it's going to tell me, hey, it's at number 3. If I put HE, then it's going to be at 0 because it tells me where in the array this part of the array occurs. So HE is right at the very beginning, right? Is everyone with me so far? Everyone see why that's happening? It's at 3 because the LO is 3 characters into the string hello. It starts at 0. So if I put like HE, then it will be, or if I put EL, then it will be at 1, I think. Makes sense? And then LO is 3. LL would be 2. So, but we don't care about where in the array our band name is. We just care, is it in the array at all, right? So we're saying as long as it's greater than -1. Because if it's 0, that means it's the first one. If it's like 5, then that means it's the 5th one. If it's -1, then that means it's not in the array at all. And I can show you guys that here. So say, what if I choose 2 letters? Yeah. Yeah, if it was a 5, it would be the index 4. So here there's no ZZ in the word hello. So I get a -1 because it's not there at all. So I'm checking, all we care about here is it greater than -1? If it is, we're going to say, with an alert, we could also use a what? A document.write, right? Or a console log. We could also console log it. In this case, I'm just going to alert it, and I'm going to say, what are we going to say? Yeah, we like that band too. And then if the band is not on our list, what are we going to say? We could either say like that band sucks, or we haven't heard of that band. What do we want to say? It sucks, right? Yes, if it's outside of our bubble and we never heard of it, they suck. That band sucks. Okay, so now we are going to try this. Do you guys think this program is going to work? Nope. Why not? What are we missing? It is missing a semicolon, but that won't stop it from working. Anything else we're missing? I think it will work. I think it should work. What is it? Oh, yeah, band.index. If bands we like, dot index of band name. Yeah, forgot that one. Okay, now it should work. Okay, so what band do we like? The Beatles. Yeah, we like that band too. Yay, it worked. Okay, so let's try it with another band. What's another band that's not on our list? Somebody?
Is that true and false or it's case sensitive?
No, it is not case sensitive yet. We can take a look at how to make it case sensitive. Good question. So NSYNC, yeah, that band sucks. They're not even a band. I don't know what they are there. Yeah, they definitely. I like the Nickelback memes. Have you guys seen those? It's like, okay, so this is pretty easy, right? This is 2 quick lines of code, really 4 if you like stretch it out, and you already have a working program that does something pretty impressive. So now what if somebody asks, what if we want to make it case sensitive so that the case doesn't matter? How do we do that? Well, that's very easy. All we have to do is to lowercase. And so this is a method, so we're going to put that after it. I think this will work. Sometimes I just try things out and see if they work, and if not, I adjust them. Okay, so let's try it lowercase, the Beatles. Okay, so we can't lowercase a function. So here's what we'll do instead. We are going to make bands we like lowercase. for each. And sometimes some of this will be like hacking. For each this dot to lower case. Wrap it in a function. Okay, so now I made everything in my.
I think you're forgetting the callback function. The function returns a callback of the object of the array index.
No, I don't think it should do that. Okay, so bands we like dot for each. Here, I'll just do it this way. And sometimes this is what a lot of coding is trial and error. If you are not sure how to do something, you can just try it a few different ways. Okay, so now we have all of our band names as lowercase. Then we are just going to lowercase the prompt when it comes in, and then that should fix our problem with cases not matching. So now I can put in Nirvana lowercase. Oh, it doesn't recognize Nirvana.
Well, because it's not checking for case sensitive.
No, I'm not checking for case sensitive. No. Okay, so, but you guys all get the basic idea of what we're doing here, right? I know it's kind of hard for you guys to all focus up here while I'm doing the live coding exercises, so I'm just going to give you guys a chance to do it instead. TAs, are we ready to slack out the array exercise?
I think the other one is at everyone.
Let me see if we have it here.
26?
So, yeah, so we should have a bit of code to send out to them. Okay. Okay, so we're going to be sending you guys out this code to dissect and look at on your own. Number 12.
Oh, no, I'm talking about. Oh, you got, yep.
Yeah, you guys are going to send it out on
Yep.
Slack. Let's see if we can figure that out while they're doing that. Let's see if we can get our...
Good.
And back dot index. Okay. Okay, so I fixed that case matching problem, by the way, if anyone was interested. So now if I type Nirvana like this, Still works.
So guys, you guys aren't actually gonna run it, but your sections will pop and we're gonna go over the answers after.
But you can run the code if you want to. They can try to run it if they want to, right?
Yeah, but as long as we're not getting the answer from them.
Wait, you didn't give them the self version?
No,
right?
no, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Did you, alright, so all you do is this one here.
So, yeah, so here you just go, what do you think that's gonna be? Like, what do you think that's gonna be? Like,
Okay, so I put it for 3, right?
oh.
I put it for 3 reds.
No. So it's already, this is gonna execute, right? If you run the file, this is gonna execute this one, right? Right? But you're trying to guess what the answer is gonna be. So here you, I think that's gonna be like.
Was this the band section? Yeah, I mean, I
It was-
should have done it.
It was, you got this. Yeah, we didn't see a band.
Yeah, there should have been one that is basically what I just demoed for you guys, the bands. Let me show you.
Oh, that's after.
Yeah, that's the one that I wanted you to send out. Like, it's got to match up with what I'm saying.
Oh,
So when I'm
okay.
like, now you guys are going to have a chance to do what I just did, it should be the exercise that matches like what I just did.
HTML.
Yeah. So guys, we accidentally sent out the wrong exercise to you guys. So the exercise you're gonna get now is gonna match what we just did with the bands and the array.
Oh,
So it's gonna make more sense. So sorry if that didn't make more sense.
Yeah, it's like tomorrow. Stuff like that. It's like tomorrow.
Only saw
Hey.
Yeah, that's fine. This is that section.
Yeah, he said it's like going up.
the README has instructions.
Okay, so then attach the HTML and just copy and paste the content. I think we
Oh, because it should be minus one. Because it is the line counting of one, and the index starts counting of n. So it's how many minus one. You always have to take off that last one to get to the last one.
So then here, it just wouldn't make sense for them because they're like, we don't know what.
Yeah, so there's always this index. Or
That doesn't even get mentioned though
what index
today.
you get parity over there. You're trying to get that last one.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, but this dance thing, I think we already found.
Oh, this is under expert, that's why. Look, this thing is, he did expert, he went over, like we
Literally just did.
Zero.
Sending this out.
yeah, yeah, he went, I don't know if he has like a different. That's why I'm confused. That's exactly what we just did. Okay, then we skipped. We skipped. What? Wait, what did we just skip? 26 and 27. Did we do 25? Yeah, we did do 25. We skipped 26, 27.
You did say something about this.
Right, yeah.
Yes, there are exceptions to JavaScript.
Yeah, look at the console.
Actually, have like 9 statements. What languages are you familiar with most Java?
Wait, where are you? I just looked at the new.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of those kinds of things, are very stringent. Java and C++, especially, are very stringent. So you'll throw exceptions to it, types of exceptions.
Right, exactly. I think he wants to like dissect it and go over it, but
you don't have to the way you do in Java, but throw exceptions. But yeah, there's not as much entry-forward.
that's fine. I'm gonna. Yeah, that's because they were supposed to do that. Yeah, they were supposed to show that stuff.
I'm sure they don't remember.
Right. So
But
we
we
should
give
give
them
them
the
the
answer.
yeah.
There are even libraries that exceptions have more Java.
We skipped over 26, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't
Okay.
want to take. I just went over it in
Oh,
class,
okay,
the
okay.
array management stuff, and I wanted to. I knew we were short on time, so that's why I just
Okay.
skipped that one. And I figured I'd have them do this one, so it gives them
Okay.
more
Okay, perfect. That's
more
what
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Stack trace. But right now, just learning these basics, and it'll all start to make sense to you more.
Yeah, I'm getting close now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you able to get that?
Yeah, just to see the logic.
Collaboration work with the band names, where you just check and see for prompts. You get a band name, see how that band name is.
I'm still working.
Yeah.
We got it.
Okay, I think they gave you guys this.
Instructions.
Yeah, we'll work on that. And everyone, I'm putting this code up here on the screen if you want to see what we just did to make it work on your own.
And then I also had a, and then I looked up, I oh, your mom, oh my God. Thanks. She's probably one of those people that you ask her a question and just go down your house and go down. That was a weird one of that.
Yes, yes, you can. So let's go back to the response to that.
You watched the thing?
No.
And he goes to shower.
Okay, so.
Whatever, you know what that is. Yeah.
Spoken like a true lawyer counselor. Well done, counselor.
So then, there's you have your statement, you're saying, so if the negative one, to remember how to put it to your. So remember when I showed you guys 1 + 1 = 2 it's going to be like a double and sign. So this is to a certain. But yeah, double and sign. Yeah, inside the square. And you'll never have to check the back. Yeah, right. So yeah, my band's got my is greater than 1 or greater than 0. It's greater than 0. No, just greater than, it's greater than. Yeah, like that, try that. No, it should not do anything. Okay, so here's what's happening. So, and it's greater than 0.
No, it's just like Shaggy and
so here's what he'll do.
her husband. They have the same, they have the same birthday, but it's she's older.
Wait, she's older.
She's older, she's 10 years older than her husband. And they have the same birthday.
So now everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
exactly the
nothing
same.
else.
It's just nothing that we only.
Get added to
you have this is space. Add space period. You put that in your
How are you guys doing? 1 to 5. People 5, who's that like a 2 or 3 or 1? Couple people, that's 1s and 2s. Okay, so we're going to take a few minutes to work on that, and then I want to talk to you guys about homework. Let's take like another 2 minutes. Okay, well, you're doing well then. Okay, we're going to take another 2 minutes, guys.
It's over at 9:30.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know. I'm trying to give them time. Sometimes we have to go over a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, what is all the iCloud stuff? I'm going day by day.
Okay, guys, before we break, I wanted to see if anyone had any unresolved questions on homework 2. Is everyone pretty much clear on what they have to do for homework 2, unless I talk to you individually and I know you need extra help? Anyone who is not clear on homework 2, anyone who needs more time on homework 2, who won't be able to get it done? Okay, so a couple of you. Get with Jonathan. Jonathan, are you seeing that? All these people need extensions on homework 2. They all get extensions on homework 2, I think, yes.
On Slack, I said it was.
Oh, it is? Okay, so then it is already extended until Thursday. Oh, okay. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, Javon, like, sent it to 10%.
Okay, so then you guys are good. You don't need extensions. Any questions on homework 2? Like anybody unclear on Bootstrap, media queries? Yes, Russ.
When I use a lot of the Bootstrap things, it's hard to have to like overwrite to make it look like the old one.
Yeah, so you will have to overwrite it. When you try using Bootstrap components, you'll have to overwrite them. We went over how the overwriting works, but let me do that a little bit more for you guys so you guys can see a little bit more about how this stuff works. In fact, CSS selector cheat sheet. Cheat sheets, by the way, are like a huge life hack for learning anything with programming. If you find a printer that will print out nice, big, colorful pages, just go and print out these cheat sheets for everything. So here are some things that you can do with CSS selectors, and this will help you, Russ, to be able to override the styles. So you can have just the HTML tag, right? As in the case of this H2, I'm going to make this bigger. So we've all seen example number 1 before, right? That's just a HTML tag. And I know we're going over here. You guys are welcome to leave. I don't want to keep any of you here late, but this is just, I wanted to cover some of the stuff that we may have missed. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Let's close out. Guys, give yourselves a hand. You guys all did well today. Awesome. All right. Yeah, if you guys want to leave, go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and demo some of this stuff. So H2, we see this here. This is just one element. Then next we have a group of elements. Because they're comma separated, we would see that this applies to either an H1, an H2, or an H3. Yes, then IDs. Are you guys, enough of you guys want to stay here and watch this, right? Later. Okay, so IDs. We all remember how to add classes, right? Classes are with a dot. IDs start with a hashtag. So this is all pretty basic stuff that should be reviewed. Now here's where it gets a little bit more complicated. You can specify tags that only exist inside of other tags. Like you could say here, select all the P tags, but only if they exist inside of a div with an ID of foo, or some element with an ID of foo. So that gives you more control, and that's usually what you're going to want to do to override Bootstrap is you can give your element, like say you have a container div, and you can call it like my container or something, give it an ID of my container, and then put this hashtag my container before the rest of your CSS selector, and then that way it will override some of the Bootstrap styling.
Can I do like number size through P, number size through, which is again?
Yeah. You can do, so if you had, but that's only if you had like some HTML element with an ID of foo that's inside of the P. But yeah, you can do that. You can go as many levels deep as you want to, giving it this kind of a path. It's just saying look for something that has an element name of P inside something that has an ID name of foo. And you can go like a million levels deep with that if you want to. Then you have some even more advanced controls here. You can use the plus sign to get the next one. So this is saying get P tags that are next to an H2 tag. So that's kind of a confusing one, but if you want the P tags that are next to an H2 tag, you can do that. A more common one that you guys will see more is this, the greater than sign. So this is saying get all the P tags that are directly inside of a tag that has an ID of foo. The other one up there with the space, it could be as many levels down. So you could have like a div with an ID of foo, and then another div, and then another div, and then a div inside of that, and a P, and this will still select the P that's inside of the div with the ID of foo, right? That's what's called an ancestor. This is what's called a direct descendant. So this will only select the P tags that are directly inside the div with the ID of foo, but not down more levels inside of other nested divs. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? I know it's a lot to wrap your heads around, and as you play with it more, you will get it. As I keep saying, minus or this tilde sign selects all P's that are siblings to the H2 element. So that will get all the P's that have an H2 that are a sibling. Do we know what sibling means? What's meant by ancestor, parent, direct descendant, sibling? Okay, so let me explain. I'm going to open up an HTML document. Yes, I will share this on Slack. I don't have it open right now. So basically in HTML, let me open up a sample HTML document. Okay, so in HTML, we have what's called like a hierarchy. Like H1 and B are both what are called descendants of body. Or body could be the body tag could be considered the parent tag of each one of these tags. So you have hierarchy structures, right? In HTML, like the body tag closes around the H1 and the P tag, the HTML tag closes around the body tag. So that's a hierarchy structure. Now to reference things within the hierarchy structure, we'll use words like ancestor, parent, direct descendant, indirect descendant. So what all of these mean are they're describing the relationships between the different HTML elements within the hierarchy structure. For instance, the relationship between the body tag and the H1 tag is what? The body is the parent of the H1 tag. The H1 is the direct descendant of the body.
And so would body be the grandparent of P?
It would be, yes, but we don't really say grandparent, we just say ancestor. Either it's like a parent or you have a direct descendant or it's an ancestor.
Okay.
So if you
But
were
yeah,
to-
but it is, you're getting it.
To wrap a container div, where would you start that?
So to wrap a container div, where would you start
Would
that?
you start that before the H1?
Oh, inside the body.
Yeah, inside the body tag. So this is just talking, what we're talking about here is the way that these CSS selectors work so that we can make more complicated CSS selectors that override the bootstrap CSS selectors. And in order to understand that stuff, it's important to understand the way the relationships of different HTML tags work together within the hierarchy structure. Like you have ancestors, you have parents, you have direct descendants, you have indirect descendants. And that's basically all that you need to know. And also siblings. Siblings are the other important ones. So if you have two that are on the same level, like in the example we just saw, the H2 tag and the H1 tag and the P tag are siblings, right? Because they're both direct descendants of the body tag. So that makes them siblings.
But if Bootstrap is supposed to make CSS, for lack of a better word, easier, why it seems that we're adding more steps? Or is that we're mitigating, where are we?
Well, so this is
steps?
Bootstrap. We're on the Bootstrap layer. Yeah, I mean, our Bootstrap is up here. We're down here in the CSS layer. So we're kind of in the nitty gritty right now. But this is understanding the basic fundamentals of it in case we need to override Bootstrap. Because we're not always going to use the Bootstrap styling on our own, right? Sometimes we'll want to write our own styles, our own fonts, our own colors, like you were running into Rust, right? So that's when understanding this hierarchy will come into play. So let's look at twitter.com since they use Bootstrap, and we can look at some of the examples of how we can override Bootstrap. Okay, so here, for instance, if I tried to overwrite this and make the font size like 12 pixels, it probably, well, in this case, it will take, but if I make a new class, and just give it this font size, 12 pixels. So basically we can see we can use different combinations of these. Like I can say any div that has a class of static logged out homepage that's a direct descendant of div, and that makes it another, it basically makes it trump anything that doesn't have that. So the more specific you get with your CSS selectors, the more they'll trump other CSS selectors. It's designed to be the more specific it is, the more it takes precedence. And it works that way on purpose because when you think about it, if you have things that are really specific, those are the ones that you want to work. Those are the ones that you want to take precedence. The ones that are more generalized are the ones that usually get overridden. And that's why the ones that are more specific take precedence over those. So keep playing with this stuff, guys. Keep doing the homework. That's why we repeat stuff, reiterate everything, and just keep playing with it, and you'll get it. Any other questions on homework? Was anyone unclear on media queries? Yes, Melvin.
just to confirm, I know we're supposed to try to replicate portfolio through Bootstrap, but suppose we don't manage to get 100%, and it's supposed to be as long as we get meaningfully.
Yeah, absolutely. Turn in what you have. We want you guys to turn in what you have. You won't get it 100% right 100% of the time. Yeah, if you're like 80% of the way there, turn it in. Reach out to your team first for support if there's some little thing that you're struggling with, but yeah, just turn it in. Yeah, you're gonna make your bootcamp, your GitHub repository, then you make a link to your GitHub pages and the settings.
Yeah, that's right.
Put that in the description, and you turn in the link to your GitHub repo, that's bootcamp spot.
So here, I would just add the link.
To your GitHub, right, you make a repo for each one, and you turn that in on bootcamp.com, and basically that's the team, so that you put that on your GitHub. Later. Okay? Cool.
Okay, moving forward,
section. And so it's your medium.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was putting column dash and dash 8. And then I was doing torch or something.
Yeah, it should go over this week. Like this homework will be about JavaScript. We're going to be learning about JavaScript in class this week. So as much as possible, I want you guys up to date on the homework. So that way, what we're working on the homework is just like what we're working on in class. Or thinking about
See you later.
class. Now you have to go back and learn and strategize. I like it to be so you guys have a slow start. Joshua does it one way, so you got to. But I want us to be caught up as much as possible. So as much as you guys can get caught up with your homework.
That's what I was saying, because like we should look be more like we got the homework assignment, but the actual material reviewed for it was in the following, not what we thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. We wanted to seem like that less, so we're getting there. We want to make sure that nobody seems left behind, but I want to keep pushing the number and stuff too. So it's going to be a little bit review, and it's good that it's a little bit review, so that way you don't forget everything from the last.
You want to do that, like column, small?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And medium and
Right.
yeah, because it's
Yeah. Totally different. So yeah, that's why we want you guys on top of the homework.
What I have left isn't that difficult.
Yeah, it seems like you're pretty close, so just keep working on it, like reach out, send me the GitHub link.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. All right, see you, Roberto.
Thank you, John.
No problem, no.
Yeah, it's a specific case.
Hey, nice to meet you, brother. What's your name?
All right. I'll let you know when anything comes up.
Oh, the thing is, when I do it,
Sad.
like, what we show, I see how it, yeah.